Over this series of videos, I'll be breaking down what I consider to be the 5 best and the 5 worst episodes from each season of Star Trek The Next Generation. For a more detailed breakdown of every single episode, you can check out my podcast linked in the video description below. Season 2 of TNG is when things started to turn around. The show is still generally not very strong, but you can see adjustments being made, and the show is starting to become more defined and developed. In Season 2, new villains are introduced, the plots become more well constructed, and the show even attempted to tackle serious character drama. That said, let's take a look at the 5 best episodes from the second season of The Next Generation. Number 5, Peak Performance.
Not good.
You're wrong, Mr. Worf. It's fantastic.
In this episode, while in the midst of a wargame exercise, a Ferengi marauder intrudes. I always love high-concept episodes of Star Trek, and wargames are one of those topics which always seem to make for good TV episodes and good movies. Despite the fact that the Ferengi are the primary antagonists in this one, it's a solid episode that always feels a bit more tense than it probably actually is. The different command styles of Riker and Picard are fleshed out, and Data gets to question his own limitations against a Stratagema Grandmaster. The character development is reflected nicely in the game's metaphor of both the wargame exercises and Stratagema. Despite the fact that the wargames exercise turns out to be more interesting as a concept than it is in its execution, Peak Performance is a fun hour of Star Trek that has a bit of something for everyone. Number 4, The Measure of a Man.
I'm sorry.
In this episode, Data must fight for his right of self-determination in order not to be declared the property of Starfleet and disassembled in the name of science. The first episode to feature a scene of the crew's poker game, Measure of a Man is frequently regarded as the first great episode of TNG. While I think that the episode is a little bit overrated, it's undoubtedly one of the strongest shows in the second season. After a few legal decisions of astoundingly questionable ethics are made, Data is put on trial to determine if he is a sentient creature, with Picard as his attorney and Riker as the prosecutor. The episode has many memorable scenes, including Riker deactivating Data and Picard giving a powerful speech about the rights of individuals, but it still feels a little hindered by the issues that plague Season 2. The writing is extremely unsubtle, and the plot mechanics barely make any sense. The setup to have Riker play the prosecution is insane and done purely for drama. That said, The Measure of a Man is an early attempt to flesh out its characters and would be influential in how the show would handle morality and ethics in later seasons. Number 3, The Royale.
It was a dark and stormy night. It's not a promising beginning.
In this episode, Riker, Data, and Worf become trapped in a strange hotel on a planet otherwise incapable of supporting human life. Some people might hear The Royale at number 3 on this list and just turn the video off in disgust. For those of you left listening, let me explain why I consider this love it or hate it show to be one of the best of Season 2. The idea that the hotel on the planet is based on a book is an interesting idea, but the fact that the show tells us that the book is a bad book is somewhat genius. It permits the story to develop in clever ways, such as providing an out for nonsensical story elements, and it allows Patrick Stewart a chance to perform some wonderful deadpan deliveries. I also think that the show does an effective job at conveying a slew of different tones throughout the episode, ranging from comedy to horror. It's a nice idea that is strongly produced. And if that wasn't enough, this feels like the first episode where the cast genuinely seem to be enjoying themselves, and if anything, that's a positive step forward. Number 2, A Matter of Honor.
They are in conflict! No, sir, they are not!
In this episode, Commander Riker is assigned to be a first officer aboard a Klingon vessel as part of an officer exchange program. One of the earliest examples of an episode that managed to successfully link the A and the B plot, A Matter of Honor is pretty badass to boot. The concept of an officer exchange program allows for nifty mirroring of plot threads, as Riker serves aboard a Klingon ship and Mendon of the annoying Benzite race serves aboard the Enterprise. Riker gets to kick some Klingon ass, and Mendon gets to be racially stereotyped by Wesley Crusher. A Matter of Honor is a tense hour with the plot nicely built around a plausible misunderstanding between the Federation and the Klingons. We get to enjoy a little bit of Klingon culture, and we get another wonderful example of Picard being uncomfortable with a crew member that is not one of the senior officers. It's a terrific episode that feels like a huge step in the right direction. Number 1, Q Who.
You wanted me to say, I need you? I need you!
In this episode, Q sends the Enterprise across the galaxy where the crew make first contact with the cybernetically enhanced race known as the Borg. Arguably TNG's greatest creation, the Borg make their impressive debut in the best episode of the second season. When Q sends the Enterprise into the distant Delta Quadrant, the crew encounter the Borg, a cybernetically enhanced race obsessed with the technology of other races. When Picard swallows his pride and is forced to admit that this is a foe that they cannot defeat, a smug Q rescues them by sending them back home, tail between their legs. An important episode, Q Who not only introduces the Borg, but it also takes a radical step in forcing the characters on the show to admit weakness. Previously, the show had gone to great lengths to portray Starfleet as a nearly perfect institution, devoid of any weaknesses or moral failings. In one excellent episode, Q forces the Federation to admit that they might not be ready to encounter everything that the galaxy has to offer. Q Who is the best episode of TNG's second season. What do you guys think is the best episode of the second season? Let me know in a comment below, and thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.